Welcome to the Travel Experience de Voyage channel. I'm a travel adventurer based in Victoria, Canada. I do not edit any video footage, any photos, and I am not sponsored by any company or organization. My travel experience is as real as it is, and my goal is to share these experiences with the world. So let's go. So today, I'm reviewing my Sony Xperia Mark IV. I've had this for a little over a year. It is, at the time of purchase, it was a top line mobile device out of Sony's Xperia lineup. There was technically one other phone that was more camera based called the Pro, which I was considering, but I did not purchase. I ended up purchasing this. Right now it has a carbon fiber cover on it and a little lanyard which I keep just to protect the phone. I'll just take that off briefly here. Now, at the time I didn't actually need a new phone or anything, but I decided to opt for one because I knew I had this. Carbon fiber cover, and yes, it's real. It's quite slim in design. I decided to purchase this. I wasn't in the market for another mobile device, but I decided to purchase this because I needed something that was a mix of more modern than what I was normally using at the time, which was a Blackberry Key2. I'll show that in a moment. And something that was much more reliable than my GoPro Hero 9 Black, which is what I'm using to record this. I'll have another separate video for my GoPro Hero 9 Black, but this is a top spec. I actually purchased this. I purchased this Sony Xperia right when it came out, and it wasn't even available in Canada at the time. I had to get it imported from England just to get it. This is the 512 gigabyte model, and at the time of purchase, when I was looking at other phones, it was definitely going to be an Android phone. I'm not an Apple person. I don't own any Apple products. I didn't want to switch to an Apple platform and then I'd have to switch everything else like a MacBook and all of that. I didn't really want to do something like that, so I knew I had to go with an Android based phone. And Sony, this is a 4K. It records in 4K. The display's in 4K. It's a very beautiful display. It is actually the first fully touchscreen phone I've ever had. I've always been a BlackBerry guy. And here's a short pic of my, or a short view of my Blackberry Key2. So this has so many awesome features on it that made me decide that I would go with it. I mean, it was very expensive. At the time of purchase, it was $1,700 Canadian. I mean, that was after exchanging with British pound sterling and having it shipped to Toronto and then having it shipped over to Victoria and all that. But so far it's been a fantastic device. I've never had any serious problems with it aside from it overheating a few times, and I'll get into that in a moment. But it has a very quick processor. Everything works fantastic. I don't do any gaming. I mean, there are a lot of reviewers out there that talk about the gaming specs. I'm not into any type of gaming. I'm not a tech channel. I'm a travel adventurer. I'm not into any of these technical specs and things like that. I mean, it's a little disappointing knowing that there's a new Mark V available that superseded this, but I'm not the type that purchases a new device every year that when things come out. I think that's an absolute waste of money and it just leads to more things being obsolete. But then again, technology is moving so fast that everything becomes obsolete in 6 months. So on my Sony Xperia Mark IV, one of the things, some of the things I really like, it has a traditional headphone jack here, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. A lot of people will say that's old school and it's obsolete because everybody goes wireless, and that is somewhat true, but I like the option of plugging in a traditional earbud or headphone set. Also, one of the things that blows my mind is a lot of these newer phones do not have a slot for a memory upgrade. Now this, I can't really, my fingernails are a little long, I have to cut them, but I can't really, oh, here I go. I'll just shut this off for a second. But I could just pop off this cover right here. I don't want to do it too much because I would hate to lose my SIM in here, but in here I have this slot where I could upgrade with a micro SD additional memory. I have my SIM on this side, I have my micro SD on the other side, but this is also a dual SIM phone. Now if you are using the dual SIM mode, then you cannot, because you're using both slots, you cannot add additional memory. And 512 gig is, no, 512 gig for the most part is plenty of room, but you know, if you're doing a lot of video recording like I am, then you fill that up quickly. And on my European Adventure series, if you check my playlist on my European Adventure Vlog playlist from number 1 till current, which is around, currently I'm at episode 180. There came a point where I was running out of space. And I actually took the video footage that I recorded on this phone and I transferred it over to this phone. And I always choose to travel generally with 2 phones. One for Europe or whatever destination that I'm in, and one that still uses my Canadian SIM. Anyways, without the cover, it's actually very slim. The surface here is very slippery. You can see I have very large hands, and the sides here are a little slippery, so that's one thing I don't really like, given that this is an expensive device. I mean, $1,700 at the time of purchase. I think it's much less expensive now. I think it's $1,200 or something like that. And of course, I'm speaking about Canadian funds, Canadian currency. I would have liked to have seen some sort of dimpling or something that would prevent it from slipping out of your hands. But that's why, you know, I always use a cover anyways to protect it. I do have a minor scratch just on the screen here. I was very pissed off at myself. I dropped it out of my vest one time and it scratched on the concrete. I was so pissed. But overall, it's been a fantastic device. This little button here unlocks everything according to your fingerprint. This button here, so there are 3 buttons. This is the face. There are 3 buttons on the right side. The center button unlocks everything using your fingerprint. This is the volume control here at the top. This here is the photo button. So if I quickly wanted to take a picture, let's say I saw something interesting or something sort of crazy, I could just quickly push this button. And right away I'm able to access the basic version of the camera, or also even record. Now I'll just pull away so I don't show my password. But yeah, and it uses the most current Android, which I believe Android version, which is I believe Android 13. I might be wrong, but I believe that's what it's on right now, and I have all the software updates on it. So it comes with its own video and camera apps built in, and the one here that you could see is the most basic. That's the most basic version. So right now it's on camera, right now it's on video, and then with the menu you could change things as you see fit. And then if necessary, if I wanted to, there are these other more intensive, more professional apps. So there's this one called Photo Pro, and this one here, although it looks the same, this one here allows for so many different methods of photography. You could do all sorts of manual settings and everything. A lot of these things I don't even know how to use. I can't even say I'm novice when it comes to photography. I know basically nothing when it comes to photography. I don't when I travel throughout Europe, my most recent trip, I didn't even take any pictures. Everything was all just video footage, and I would just use the most basic mode, and then I'd actually just record. Now from episode 1 to current, and then a couple more episodes, everything is in standard 1080p, but I eventually switched to 4K, so that will probably be next week. Well, not even next week, it'll be at about a month from now, because I upload about 20 videos a week, usually on the weekends. So every Saturday or Sunday I'll try to upload 20 videos, and I could only upload them with the resolution that I recorded them in, which was 1080p on my Sony Xperia Mark IV at the time. It wasn't until I rented a car and traveled out of Palermo that I switched to 4K, and of course that used up a lot more space, which is one of the wonderful things about having internally 512 gigabytes and then being able to expand that through an expansion slot. And I have a 256 gigabyte micro SD card in here, and I have another 128 gigabyte micro SD card in here, and this internally has 64 gigs, and then I think I have a 256 gigabyte micro SD in my GoPro Hero 9. So I was able to move some files around, because recording in 4K takes a lot of space. But once I reach, I believe it'd be episode 220 coming up in about a month or so, something like that. Basically, I'll post on the title description and whenever I have film in 4K, just for the audience to see. But the video footage on this is just fantastic. I don't have any of the video footage on my phone right now. I've already transferred it over to my computer. But also there's this app here called Video Pro, and this is much more intense than the standard basic app. Like, you could control so many different things. I don't actually use this. When I'm recording. I use when I'm recording video footage, I just use the most basic mode. And you can see here it's filming in HDR 120 frames per second at 4K. My GoPro Hero 9 Black doesn't even record 120 frames per second. Its maximum at 4K is 60 frames per second, depending on how wide of a lens I'm using. But yeah, this system here, this app here, allows so many different things. I wouldn't really switch to this just yet. I mean, I don't have any current footage that I'm going to be recording. Well, I do have some plans of some things I will be recording now that I'm back home, but some things maybe around Victoria, maybe around Nanaimo or Vancouver. But so I will eventually use this Video Pro and experiment with it and see how it is. But all of my footage throughout my travels in Europe in 2023, we're using this basic app here and switching to video mode. Now there's this other app called Cinema Pro, and that is more for people who are really taking cinematography and film, and film and content creation to another level. I don't touch this at all. This is for people who are going to be doing post editing, a lot of post editing. I don't post edit any footage at all. What I have is what I have. I don't really have a script. I'm just explaining things how they are. Yeah, I'm not really into all those things. Like, you'll see my channel is not anything fancy. It's just real life. I'm not I'm like most people. I have a career. I have a regular job. I didn't get sponsored by some company to speak about their products and get a few extra dollars in my pocket. I'm not like that. I just like to travel, have some really cool experiences, and sometimes my experiences are not so cool, and I just share them with the world, and that's it. I don't like to fake anything. I can't stand things that are fake. So yeah, that's why this is a real and honest review. That's why I would never use Cinema Pro. I don't have any software editing. I don't have any software on my computer that's meant for editing videos or anything like that. I mean, I have on my computer, which is Windows based, I have some software that I use for a different playlist, my cross-country playlist, which I'm still working on, my cross-country road trip adventure, and I link all the videos together, and in between the videos I do a little bit of editing, but aside from that, I don't edit any. As far as video footage, I don't edit anything at all. What I see and what I upload is what really happened. So when it seems a little shaky, or if it seems a little dark, like that's how it is in real life. Some of the downsides, like I said, it's a little slippery on the surface without a cover or something. Thankfully, this carbon fiber protective cover does have some grip to it. One of the problems I experienced when I was traveling throughout Europe and I was filming a lot of things was this does actually get very hot. It's become during certain sessions where I'm recording, it gets so hot that I could barely touch it, and that's when I had this cover on. When I had this cover on, it became so hot, so I could only imagine how hot it would have been if I didn't have this protective cover on it. Now, some people might say this protective cover prevents it from actually being able to cool down, and I would completely disagree. A lot of people who own this device have said before that this gets extremely hot, and the only time it's actually become extremely hot, like I said, was during the times when I was recording and during times when it was actually very hot outside. You know, this year in Europe, 2023 summertime Europe, it is a tremendous heat wave. I mean, I was in Florence, I was in Rome, even when I was in Berlin it was hot. I've been all around the coast of Sicily, Palermo, Cefalù, Agrigento, Selinunte. I've been to Taormina, Naxos. I've been to all these places, Catania. I've been to all these places, and I was using my phone to record footage, and there were times when, yes, it was so hot, and when the device gets to a certain temperature, it warns me, and then it'll shut down, so I can't record any further. So now, just to compare to my Blackberry Key2, you know, they're almost the same size. You know, my Blackberry Key2's, I mean, there's also a protective cover on it, but my Blackberry Key2 is just a tad bit wider and a tad bit shorter. The Sony Xperia is quite a bit slimmer, but when you have gigantic hands like me, it doesn't matter that almost everything fits. One of the things I did notice, though, in some of the hostels that I stayed in, and not just hostels, but whenever I was going around and I was looking for Wi-Fi in certain areas like cafes and whatnot, there were times when, and this is a 5G capable device. This obviously is not. I mean, BlackBerry doesn't even make phones anymore. They haven't for a long time. I think this was actually the last phone they ever made, or at least the last phone that ever had a BlackBerry name. This doesn't even have a BlackBerry operating system. But there are times when I had better reception with my Blackberry Key2 than I did with my Sony Xperia Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. I can't explain that. I don't know why, but yeah, there were times when I certainly had much better reception, significantly much better reception. There were more bars on my BlackBerry than there were on my Sony, and if I were to play or use them both at the same time on anything, this would load quicker, despite being, you know, this by today's standards is extremely slow. I mean, this is what I use when I'm traveling, and this is what this is what I use when I use them both when I'm traveling, but this is what I use for my European SIM card, and I keep my Canadian SIM card in this. But that's one of the other downsides, which I can't really explain why an old obsolete BlackBerry could get better reception than a modern Sony 5G capable phone, capable device. I can't explain that at all. But that's one of the things which was a bit of a downside. And of course, I mean, this is expensive. $1,700 at the time, but I paid $1,000 for my Blackberry Key2 when this first came out. So I guess that's somewhat comparable. Now, the biggest thing to me, if there's one thing that really, really pisses me off, I'll just pull away so I don't show my password. Now, I don't know if my GoPro Hero 9 Black will show this. It's probably hard to see. Let's see if I could. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it probably won't show. But I believe the screen is OLED. Like again, I'm not a tech person, so I can't throw out the specs, and I do apologize if I do have the specifications wrong. But the display is beautiful. It's a beautiful display, but one of the things that really pisses me off. So the two things that piss me off, number one is this phone gets very, very hot. This device gets extremely hot when I'm recording, and there are times when it shuts down. That's just I guess I suppose that would be one of the problems that Sony didn't take into consideration. But then again, it's also that happens, as I explained earlier, when the ambient temperature is quite warm, like how it was when I was in Rome. It was in the 40s. But perhaps my GoPro Hero 9 Black just might show. You might be able to make it out. But there's screen burn-in. Okay. There's actually, if the display is a light color, you could see screen burn-in. And considering I paid $1,700 for this phone, for this device, it's a little over a year old, and it has this, that really pisses me off. Now, for most people, they wouldn't notice it. I do, and I could live without it. I mean, hell, what choice do I have? Unless I sell this and purchase a Sony Xperia Mark V, Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. But considering that this is a very high-end device from a reputable manufacturer like Sony does not make any rubbish, really. Sony products, Sony is like Honda, or Toyota. Like these, Japanese manufacturers, for the most part, are excellent. So for this to have screen burn-in, I don't know if you could see it, but I could see where the icons were for different apps and whatnot. That really upsets me. That really pisses me off. And also considering now, I've had this Blackberry Key2 since it first came out in Canada. I was actually one of the first people, or you could say first and only people in British Columbia to ever get this. I was amongst the first batch. I believe I received the second shipment of Blackberry Key2 when this first was available, when they were first shipped to British Columbia. And there's absolutely no screen burn-in. None. There's no screen burn-in at all on this device. You don't see anything. And I've had this since new, and I've been using this until I ended up with my Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. So I've had this for years. And I've done everything. I've watched videos on it, did everything on it, and there's no sign of screen burn-in. So those are the only two downsides. Of course, at the end of my reviews, and I will be doing this is the first review that I've decided to make. I will be doing reviews on a multitude of things in the future. Again, I'm not a tech channel. My background is not tech. My background is actually the automotive industry and the construction industry, but I'm not review. That's a completely different topic altogether. I just like to review the things that I use when I'm traveling, and how they affect my travels and how they could affect yours. So in the end, would I recommend the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV? Actually, I would. Now it also depends where you're coming from. If you're a person who has say one of these high-end iPhones or Samsungs, or if you're a tech person and you're up to date with all this stuff, you might not like this. You might not think that Sony is overpriced, or they're not competitive as far as their specifications are to other devices. But of course, I'm sure anybody will agree, coming from a BlackBerry, anything is an upgrade. For me, if I were to compare it, going from a Blackberry Key2 to a Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV, oh, that's like going from a buggy being pulled by a donkey to a Formula One race car. But overall, I do recommend it. It is an excellent device. Although I have very little experience with the photography side of the device, the video part of it is fantastic, and my videos will only get better and better with time as I explore more options on it. Of course, I will not be, as I mentioned, I will not be doing any post editing of my videos, but it's a fantastic device, and it has a wide spectrum as far as, very novice and inexperienced users like myself, all the way to people who know how to fine-tune all the specs. All the specs to make their videos and their photos even better. Yeah, this symbol lights up when the phone starts to overheat. But yeah, it's a great thing. I definitely recommend it if especially now that it's dropped in price considerably. I would definitely recommend it if not just if you're using a BlackBerry. I'm the only guy running around with one of these. But for anybody who's looking for a new mobile device, 5G capable, 4K display, an expansion slot for additional memory, dual SIM, very high quality cameras from a high quality brand. It's not one of these third world country setups. Sony makes quality products and has been for decades. So I definitely recommend it. So thanks a lot for watching till the end of the video. If you like the content, if you liked my video, please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything. If you have any questions, you could email me, or you could put them on the comment section down below. I don't edit any comments. If you want to leave some rubbish comments, I'm not going to edit them. If you put some rubbish comments, then you're just a rubbish guy, rubbish person, but that's your choice. It's not my problem. But overall, throw a comment section down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're using. If you have the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V, the new one that just came out, the successor to this, and you like it or something, and if you had one of these, let me know. Let me know how it's turned out for you. If you have another device, even if it's not an Android device, if you have the iPhone, whatever iPhone model there is, and you think that's better, post it on the comment section and let me know. I'm going to be keeping this for quite some time. Like I said, I'm not the person who buys a new device every year. When the new GoPro Hero 12, which just came out a few days ago, or I think it's going to be coming out soon. I mean, I'm not the type of person that goes and buys the newest thing all the time. Like I said, that's a waste. I will be keeping this probably until it fails, or unless somebody steals it or something, and then I will definitely be upgrading to the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. But for the time being, it's a fantastic device. So thank you very much for watching to the end of the video, and I'll see you soon.